How's it going, guys? Vaibhav here and welcome back to another video. Now today I want to talk about Xiaomi's Mi Mix series, the Mi Mix 4 in particular, because the leaks are coming thick and fast. But before we do so, let me address what Xiaomi is doing for the next 6 to 8 months or so. I think with the Mi 10 series, they want to sort of approach the flagship lineup territory, and they're absolutely doing that with the specifications they've crammed into the smartphone. And if you want to check out a full in-depth sort of review of the phone, you can do so by clicking the card above over on GN Tech. But this video is focusing on the Mi Mix series, and if we actually go to the Mi Mix 4, this smartphone basically epitomized what a typical 2018/2019 smartphone should have been, and that was it didn't have any sort of bezel, no notch, had a full display, and that's what people wanted. It had a magnetic slider that housed the camera of the front, and if you look at the actual specifications of the phone, they weren't bad by any means. It had a 93.4% screen to body ratio, and it had a pretty decent camera setup as well, including wireless charging and a top-of-the-range processor in the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845. Different colors as well, and you can pretty much check this out for yourself if you are interested in what the Mi Mix 3 was. But the Mi Mix 3 is basically one of the smartphones that garnered a lot of interest for its design, and the Mi Mix series in general has been sort of a step in the direction where people want to be coming up. So of course, when Xiaomi released the Mi Mix Alpha, or when they showcased it, people were excited. This was a concept phone. It was a 5G concept phone, which basically included a surround display. So this thing had a display that totally surrounded the smartphone, and not many people got to check it out apart from a few blogs and publications. I think Mr. Who's the Boss and MKBHD got to check it out as well, but we didn't get to check it out, and it was a shame we didn't. But the fact that this phone actually exists is a big indication of what Xiaomi is aiming for in the next, 1 year, 2 years, or even 3 years. And I think that's where the Mi Mix 4 comes into play. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the design. I mean, the design is absolutely phenomenal. There's pretty much no bezel to the smartphone, and for people who don't like curved screens, this is their absolute nightmare. But as you can see, this is what Xiaomi envisions to be the flagship future smartphone. And if we go ahead and look at the specifications of this phone, especially the camera, you're looking at a 108 megapixel Samsung sensor, a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, a 20 megapixel ultra wide camera, and all of this is going into a flagship smartphone here and there, and in pretty much every single other flagship we've seen, whether that's from Oppo, from Samsung, from OnePlus in 2020, we've had some indication of these flagship specifications. Of course, the Mi Mix Alpha isn't really a phone that Xiaomi intends to sell. However, the Mi Mix 4 is borrowing a lot of those design cues. So this is an article from Xiaomishka, who are a Russian blog, and they basically leak all of the things related to Xiaomi that's coming up. And this was an alleged leak poster of the Mi Mix 4. And right off the bat, it shares a very similar design concept to the Mi Mix Alpha. And we might be seeing the first ever phone with sort of this curved display design. And I don't think it's a bad idea to try, but it might be because Xiaomi isn't a well-established brand, especially in the flagship territory. Now, this came out on June the 11th, so this is a bit of an older sort of news article, but it really caught my attention. So if we look at the camera, specifically, you're looking at a 150 megapixel camera, a 40 megapixel secondary camera, and up to 120 times zoom. Now, the camera setup is pretty similar to what we see on the Huawei P40 and P40 Pro series, so that's something, but this thing is centered. Of course, you can't have it on the side because that's where the actual screen wraps around the phone. Now, in terms of other specifications, Xiaomishka does outline the other specifications of the phone, including another 40 megapixel camera on the front for selfies, a TOF depth sensor, as well as a 20 megapixel camera to complete the rear setup overall. Now, it's pretty interesting to see what Xiaomi is doing with this. This is a very heavily camera specific phone, and at the same time has a completely different design that we don't really expect from any of the other smartphones out there. Now, they do go on to talk about the 150 megapixel camera, and we can't really comment much on it because we haven't seen samples, and megapixels don't really tell you the whole story, but that 120 times zoom is something we should look forward to. That could mean we might get up to 12x optical lossless zoom, which is something that would be phenomenal. I think the P40 Pro Plus has up to 10 times optical zoom, so Xiaomi might be looking to dethrone that. And speaking of that, I think with this smartphone, Xiaomi has the making to, dethrone pretty much every single flagship out there. There's also mention of optical image stabilization on these sensors, so it might be video centric as well. As far as the leaked posters go, we're seeing up to 2 optical image stabilizations. Of course, there's something called a 20x zoom as well. That might be 20x hybrid zoom. We're not really sure yet, but basically this poster has got me really excited for what Xiaomi has in store for the upcoming smartphone. Aside from that, in terms of other specifications, Wang Hui on Weibo managed to find this source, and this was a picture detailing some more specifications of the phone, including a 2K 120Hz display, 100 watt fast charging, a 65 watt fast wireless charging support, as well as a Snapdragon 875 processor from the looks of it. So this basically outlines what time frame we're going to see this phone. This might be a phone that will be coming out in the next maybe 8 to even 10 months, maybe rivaling the next wave of flagship smartphones, which include the Galaxy S30, the OnePlus 9 Pro, the Huawei P50 Pro, etc., etc. But all of these specifications have me really excited for the smartphone, and combining all of this with MIUI 12 and maybe, reducing the bloatware on the software, this could be one of the phones to watch out for next year. But yes, that about sums up this video, a look at the Mi Mix 4/Mi Mix Alpha real concept. I think when I saw this phone, I was really excited, and now to see a phone that might be coming out with this sort of design just has me really excited to try it out. But let me know what you guys think about this concept down in the comments. You might dread it because of how curvy the phone is. You might love it just like me. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks for watching this video. This was Vaibhav, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.